Can you turn on your microphone? Excuse me, can you turn on your microphone?
Do we have a motion to approve the consent agenda? So moved. Motion by Councilman Orleans. Do we have a second? Second by Councilman Tolleson. Does anyone in the audience have any questions regarding the consent agenda? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. For the record, I see that Councilman Eigelhart is absent with an excuse. And our city administrator, Kay Love, will be presenting the Administration and Finance Department agenda. Kay Love.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The first item is approval of participation in the Partnership for Sustainable Georgia program. This program is administered by the Georgia Department of Natural Resources, and it assists Georgia businesses and organizations in using continuous improvement tools to reach better environmental results and a better bottom line. It provides partners free assistance, opportunities to connect with other leaders, and recognition for sustainability efforts. And this is what piqued our interest about this particular program. It's free and open to any business or organization that operates in Georgia. There are 4 levels of partnership, and the champion level is the level that we would like to seek. And basically the commitments within the champion level are things that we basically are already doing regarding promoting and educating our environmental stewardship and sustainability, publishing articles in newspapers, electronic newsletters, trade journals, promoting the partnership throughout Georgia, promoting sustainability, and being a mentor to any peer businesses or organizations who are trying to get started in efforts that we may already be started in, such as our recycling program. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Does the council have any questions for Mrs. Love? Do we have a motion? Motion by Councilmember Tolleson. Do we have a second? Second by Councilmember Becky Wynn. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously.
The next item is approval of a resolution supporting municipal water systems. The U.S. Conference of Mayors adopted a resolution in 2008 encouraging cities to phase out the use of bottled water where feasible and to promote the importance of municipal water systems. This resolution for Roswell basically supports the U.S. Conference and Mayors resolution and states that we as a city will phase out the use of bottled water where feasible.
Any questions? Councilman Orleans.
I agree with the concept. The water bottles are easy to recycle, so I just don't want to see us getting into using something else, getting the tap water, such as styrofoam cups that may not be recyclable, or going in that kind of a direction. So that's my only concern is how we do it. So just being aware of that.
Yes, sir, we will. Absolutely. And we won't be purchasing any types of containers that are recyclable or like the containers that you have at the dais for the water, for our water, from our water system. The mayor's demonstrating.
Best water in Georgia.
I just don't want to see us having to go to the landfill with other things.
Yes, sir.
Since the bottles aren't easily recyclable.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion? Motion by Councilman Tolleson. Do we have a second? Second by Councilman Orleans. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Yes, sir. Come forward, please. If you'll give us your name and address and fill a speaker card in before you leave tonight, we would appreciate it.
Lee Fleck, Martin's Landing. My question is, what constitutes bottled water?
Does staff want to respond to what's the definition? What constitutes
What constitutes bottled water?
I haven't seen a formal definition from the U.S. Conference of Mayors, but for us it would mean water that we purchase prepackaged in a plastic or some type of bottle. This would not preclude us from using such items in outdoor events where obviously it's not practical to carry buckets of water or cups of water for spilling. If there's another definition, we're happy to look at that.
And just to
So this
clarify-
doesn't include like water fountain 5-gallon bottles?
No, sir.
This is only individual
Correct.
bottles. Those bottles are a major source of recycling for the Georgia carpet industry. If you aren't really aware of that, that's what uses substrate for the base. Carpet mills up in North Georgia, the plastic is reused extensively in that industry. So your statement that plastic bottles are not recyclable is grossly in error. Okay, now my next question is, since you're all planning to expand and redevelop this part of town, and your current Oxbow water plant does not have the capacity to handle that expansion, why are you deciding not to use an alternative source of water for y'all?
A couple of points, Mr. Fleck. Previously, I don't believe we are passing this resolution because water bottles are not recyclable. And I appreciate your drawing to our attention that they are recyclable. I don't think we took the position that they are not recyclable. They are recyclable, but it's better. Recycling is a good thing, but if you can avoid the need to use the plastic in the first place, I think it'll preserve petroleum products. On the second point, we have not done a study yet to determine whether or not the water plant can serve the area of redevelopment, but my belief is that we hope to be able to fully serve this area. We're drilling wells. We hope to supplement the water system. We've applied for permits to increase the withdrawal from the water system. And if there's not sufficient water from Big Creek, Fulton County certainly has the water to supply us for this proposed redevelopment in Roswell in the Groveway community. So to say that there's not sufficient, the city is not in a position to furnish them with water, I think is an error. I think we are in a position to serve this community with water if it's redeveloped.
Well, I don't know. The last time I was here, I asked for your well phase 3 information on your water well project, and to date I still haven't received it, although I was committed that I would get that from you.
He emailed it to you the next day. Mr. Mooring did. I'll be happy to resend it.
Appreciate it, because I did not receive it. Okay, I understand this is predominantly just a PR issue here, but I think there's more serious issues that you failed to recognize with the redevelopment that's been discussed. And if you're going to domino sections of the city away from your Oxbow facility and convert them to Fulton County, I think that's first time I've heard that, and I'm glad to realize that you've recognized that reality.
We have not recognized that reality. We do not plan to convert it to a Fulton County water system. In the event we don't have sufficient water coming from Big Creek in drought periods, it has always been our practice to supplement that with Fulton County water. That practice is not changing. It will continue.
But it will probably get more significant. I mean, I've been at your water plant. I know what its capacities are. You can barely keep up with the residents you have right now. I think you're all avoiding that with these meetings that you're having. You have another meeting scheduled very shortly this month with all those interested parties. You need to address that issue. Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to comment? Any further discussion by council before we take a vote? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously.
The The next item is approval of a requirement for appointed officers and members of boards, commissions, and authorities to take an oath of office. This is the oath that is currently in our charter. Currently, members of our boards, commissions, and authorities are not required to take an oath of office, and this would be a requirement that they would now take this oath that's on the overhead.
Do we have a motion to approve? Motion by Councilmember Becky Wynn for approval. Do we have a second? Second by Councilmember DiPolito. Is anyone in the audience who wishes to be heard on this issue? Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. I'd like to thank Sam Evans, who brought this to our attention. It's another good idea by Sam. Sometimes we overlook the basics up here, and this is a basic foundation of what we should be doing. Just as we pledge the flag, which is another good idea that Sam Evans brought. So thank you, Sam. Next item, please.
Next item is approval of an ordinance of the City Council to authorize Fulton County to conduct the election. This would be our November 3rd election, and it would also pertain to a runoff should that be necessary. Total cost is $310,000, including runoff costs. In the previous elections that we had, the final tally was approximately $124,000. This is the second reading. Mr. Davidson, would you read the ordinance?
Thank you. This is an ordinance of the City Council to authorize Fulton County to conduct the elections. Now therefore be it ordained by the Mayor and Council of the City of Roswell, and it is hereby ordained and established by authority of the same, that the Mayor is authorized to enter into a contract with Fulton County Department of Registrations and Elections to conduct this election using express poll or other such measures approved by the Georgia Secretary of State, which contract is attached hereto and incorporated herein, and if approved, this would be the second reading of the ordinance.
Mrs. Love, I know this is an estimate. We're contracting with them. How do we determine the exact cost at the end of the game?
At the end of the election and or a runoff, they will, Fulton County will tally their entire expenses. The county is not having an election, so the entire cost of the election will be borne by the municipalities, and that will be divided across the municipalities based on the actual number of poll workers, number of Fulton County staff at the Board of Elections and Registration, and the actual cost, ballots, et cetera, supplies.
So it's based upon how the staffing every city and most of the cities in Fulton County are having elections, and so they'll look at what the total costs are, and they'll proportion it based upon
registered voters.
Registered voters?
Yes, sir.
Not who turns out, but the number
Correct.
of registered voters. It's done proportionally.
Correct.
Thank you. Y'all all turn out to vote. It won't cost us any more. Next, do we have a motion? Motion by Councilmember Becky Wynn for approval. Do we have a second? Second by Councilmember Lori Henry. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. This time I'll call upon Liaison to the Public Safety Department, Councilmember Lori Henry.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The only item on our agenda this evening is the approval of a resolution to accept a 2009 Justice Assistance Grant in the amount of $71,894.01. And this is for the enhancement and improvement of law enforcement programs, and our staff is planning on using digital radio communications equipment. Ms. Love?
I don't really have anything other to add. That's a grant that we are participating with other municipalities. City of Atlanta is administering the grant, and we are ready to accept the funds for radio upgrades.
Is there any match?
No, sir.
And it's my understanding that we need to do this regardless of whether we get the grant or not.
That is correct.
So this money is really saving our taxpayers $71,000.
Yes, sir.
Do we have a motion?
Move to approve.
Motion for approval by Councilmember Lori Henry. Do we have a second? Second by Councilmember DiPolito. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. This time I'll call upon Councilmember Jerry Orleans, Liaison to the Recreation and Parks Department.
First item on our agenda tonight is approval for the renovation of the fountain at Town Square, and Mr. Glover is going to go through the explanation of it for us.
Thank you, Mr. Orleans. The renovation of the fountain in Town Square has been a key component of the Town Square master plan. That master plan started in 2006. Councilman Lori Henry was the chairman of that committee. And the input for the final master plan was gathered from various sources. We had not only the renovation committee, the Town Square charrette group, the Roswell Recreation Commission, and the Historic Preservation Commission. And the results is the square is much more visible, and I think the activity is going to give us much more space. The final recommendation came out of the process, a 20-foot granite obelisk to be installed in the center of the fountain, and the obelisk has cost approximately $70,000, and we have approximately $75,000 left in that particular cost center.
Go ahead.
I was going to say this item was discussed at the last committee meeting.
Does the council have any questions? Do we have a motion?
Move for approval.
Nope. Got a question from Councilmember DePolito.
I was
Thank
going
you,
to
Mr.
ask Joe
Mayor.
to go further too. Go ahead.
Please proceed, Mr. DePolito.
What is the, Mr. Glover, what is the projected timing on getting the project completed?
Well, I had a meeting with our engineer this afternoon trying to find out how long it would take, and then I met with the county administrator, the city administrator, talking about the possibility of how soon we could bid the project. Our engineer has done a lot more work up front, so we're way ahead of the game. He's already designed the footings. He knows how big it is. We know it's going to weigh 4 tons. We know some of the information, so we will start tomorrow, put it together, and there's a very good possibility. Mr. Orleans had asked whether we'd have it up before December 1st, and there is a very good chance that can happen.
That'd be great. Thank you.
Any other questions? Do we have a motion?
Move for approval to install the designed obelisk at the Roswell Town Square fountain.
Motion by Councilman Orleans. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Lori Henry. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. But Councilman Orleans, is that just checking? Passes unanimously. I want to thank Sally White and her committee and all the folks who put this design together. It's not easy getting a consensus on the design of such an important element of Roswell's park. And Sally, I will give you credit for bringing everybody together. I understand it was a unanimous approval by the Recreation Commission and by the Historic Preservation Commission and by the Historic Roswell Alliance and anybody else? The City Council. So to get a unanimous across-the-board decision was quite an accomplishment by Sally White. So thank you, Sally. And hopefully we'll get it up this year, which will be another remarkable achievement for government.
That's the calendar year, correct?
This calendar year, not this fiscal year. Next item, Councilman Orleans.
And again, I'd also like to thank Sally White for all her time and effort that she put into this and guided it through the process. So thank you very much. Next item is approval of a revision to the Bullock Hall Master Plan. I guess Joe is presenting this, even though we have lovely Pam in the audience to do it.
Well, I was going to ask Pam to come up. Pam, if you come up just a second. At the last committee meeting, we had a representative from Robert & Company, Andrew Core, made the presentation of the Bullock Hall Master Plan upgrade. Most of it is in this area of the thing. Pam, you can point out some of the areas. The master gardeners are working on redoing that. You want to tell them what you said?
Yeah. They started clearing the area, several months ago with the help of Jeff Lambosis and Ed Rigby, clearing out all the privet and trying to get to the pond because it had been overgrown for about 20 years. It looks really a lot better even right now, but the first thing they will address will be the pond area, the retaining wall, which will be stone, and the pavilion. So we know it's probably going to take for the landscape part about 3 years to do everything they want to do. the reconstruction of the second slave cabin. We're hoping to start on that probably in spring, but the other should, start fairly soon.
Does the council have any questions? Do we have a motion to approve this master plan update?
Move for approval of this latest bullet call master plan.
Motion by Councilman Orleans for approval. Is there a second? Second by Councilmember Lori Henry. I want to compliment you all on that. I was down at the farmers market Saturday, and they told me we had a special fruit down there from in the swamp that they normally only gets from Florida. What was that?
Wait a minute. They make it in mayhaw. We've got several mayhaw trees. About 50 little ones, and then one larger one. Yeah.
And apparently mayhaw is quite a delicacy in Florida, and they didn't even know it grew this far north. And so I'm looking forward to mayhaw jelly from Bullock Hall, and I expect it might have been planted by the Bullocks.
That and possibly wine, because we know the Bullocks did have a little wine.
I'm not sure about wine here. Let's just stick to jelly tonight. We have a motion and a second. Are there any questions from the audience? Any comments? Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously.
Next item is approval of a resolution to apply for a 2009 Preserve American grant from the Georgia Historical Preservation Division in the amount of $10,000. And we could have the city attorney read the resolution.
Thank you. This is a resolution seeking approval to apply for a fiscal year 2009 Community Landmark Heritage Tourism Grant proposal. Whereas the City of Roswell desires to submit a grant application in the amount of $10,000, and whereas this project is a continuation of the implementation of the previously approved Historic Sites Joint Marketing Plan funded by the First Preserve America grant, and whereas the city is required to provide a local matching fund from the grant match fund contingency in the amount of $10,000, now therefore be it resolved by the council of the city that the mayor of Roswell and or the city administrator is authorized to execute this application and any subsequent documents necessary to submit the grant application. And approved, this would be the reading of the resolution.
Do we have a motion for approval?
Move for approval.
Motion by Councilman Orleans. Do we have a second? Second by Councilmember Becky Wynn. Does anyone in the audience have any questions or comments? Any further discussion by council? All in favor of the motion? Passes unanimously. We have a recommendation for closure to discuss personnel and any other matters. Do we have a motion? We have a work session tonight. What's the subject of the work session, Ms. Love?
Tax allocation districts.
Tax allocation districts. We'll be talking about, which is something that would very much help us in redeveloping Roswell. So that will be immediately following this meeting in room 220. Do we have a motion for closure?
So moved.
Motion by Councilman Orleans. Do we have a second? Second by Councilmember Becky Wynn. All in favor of the motion, raise their hands. Passes unanimously. We're adjourned. We'll